If we was to fight right now on the streets, I'll break your fucking neck. And that's on my kids. And you know it, I know it, and the whole world know it. And I'm not talking about no fighting in the ring. If me and you was to fight outside, I will break your neck.
What I got from that is he's a hater. If you don't know me as a person, let's say you don't like me. You don't know me. You feel me? And I don't give a fuck. Him. If everybody including Will, I mean, Will. Fuck.
Same question for you.
You're a proud father.
How does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look?
147? I tapped that trend. You know he going to sleep.
I already know. I already know
he ain't got no chance.
I already know he is.
He said no chance.
I got round 5.
You got round 6.
He would never even think about to come up to 154.
All right, what about 47 though?
Yes, if he get to pick his opponent. But Tank would never come from 35 to 54.
Y'all got into it on social media around that time. Is that just you being competitive, like when that happens? Or is it like...
I just really don't like that dude.
Why though?
Cause I just don't like him. Like I really don't like him. That's like
just not your cup of tea. That's just not your.
I don't like nothing about him. I just feel like he just one of these little arrogant little dudes that's using what he got to shield him. He got a lot of security guards around him, and he's in the limelight and stuff like that. But in certain situations, he wouldn't be acting like that.
Do you like him as a fighter though?
Yeah, he's a damn good fighter.
Yeah,
but like his core personality and his ways.
Look at the footage right here. Look at the visual mass of security guards collapsing into a chaotic wave of black suits, knocked over microphones, and screaming promoters. That isn't staged WWE drama. That isn't a pre-planned gimmick designed to drive up pay-per-view buys for a fight that was already sold out. That is pure, unadulterated, raw hatred erupting live in front of hundreds of media outlets and millions of fans watching around the globe. For months, the combat sports world held its breath as Gervonta, Tank Davis and Terence "Bud" Crawford traded venomous shots across social media. We watched them throw low blows over contract money, pound-for-pound rankings, and who really runs the sport of boxing. But nobody, and I mean nobody in that press room, expected what happened when both men finally stepped into the same airspace. When Tank Davis locked eyes with Terence Crawford, the atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The temperature spiked. The body language turned cold. And within 45 seconds of a verbal exchange turning deeply personal, Tank snapped. He bypassed security, lunged across the main table, and swung with bad intentions right at the face of the undisputed pound-for-pound king. What you are looking at is the absolute breaking point of modern boxing's most dangerous rivalry. Two undefeated, stone-cold killers from the streets, one from Baltimore, one from Omaha, who refused to back down an inch to any man alive. This incident sent shockwaves straight through the entire combat sports world, leaving promoters scrambling, athletic commissions threatening bans, and millions of fans asking the exact same question: did Gervonta Davis just cross a line that boxing can never come back from? Stick around, because today we are breaking down every single angle of this explosive incident, the hidden street-level history behind their beef, and what this massive brawl means for the future of both fighters. Trust me, you do not want to miss a single second of this story. However, the spark that turned subtle disrespect into outright war was ignited following Tank Davis's controversial performance against Lamont Roach Jr. in that fight. Davis took an intentional knee in the 9th round to clear his vision after absorbing shots, a moment that referee Steve Willis somehow did not score as an official knockdown. Almost immediately, Crawford went on social media and publicly blasted the decision, declaring that Roach was robbed and mocking Tank for taking a knee under pressure. Tank did not take that lying down. Within hours, Davis fired back, posting old footage of Crawford going down against Egidijus Kavaliauskas in 2019, mocking Crawford's chin and calling him a jealous hater who was chasing payday fights against Canelo Alvarez because he was running out of money. Crawford responded in a now-famous interview with The Ring magazine, stating flatly, "When you compare our careers, it's like night and day, boy. You can't even tie my shoestrings." That single sentence, "you can't even tie my shoestrings," cut straight to the core of Tank's ego. In Tank's mind, he is the biggest star in American boxing, the successor to Floyd Mayweather, the man who fills arenas from Brooklyn to Los Angeles on his name alone. To be addressed like a novice by Crawford ignited a deep, personal hostility. When both men walked into the press conference room, the media expected subtextual tension, maybe some back-and-forth verbal barbs that could be turned into sound bites for promotional promos. Instead, the room was charged with static electricity from the moment Tank took his seat. Crawford was seated nearby, looking completely relaxed, wearing a stone-faced expression that seemed to radiate utter indifference toward Tank's presence. As journalists began asking routine questions, Tank took the microphone and immediately dated from the fight at hand. He stared directly across at Crawford, his voice dripping with venom. Tank called out Crawford's record, alleging that Crawford only fought old men and smaller guys moving up in weight, before taking aim at Crawford's relationship with Saudi Arabian power broker His Excellency Sheikh Turki Al-Sheikh. Tank yelled into the mic, accusing Crawford of being a puppet for foreign money, selling out his dignity for a paycheck because he couldn't generate his own revenue in the United States. The press room went dead silent. Journalists froze. Photographers lowered their cameras in disbelief. To question a man's financial independence and street credibility in front of a live audience is a cardinal sin in combat sports. Crawford didn't blink. He leaned forward into his microphone, locked eyes with Tank, and delivered a calm, cold response that pushed Davis over the edge. "You talk big for a guy who takes a knee when the heat gets turned up, little boy." That was the exact phrase that shattered the thin wall of professional decorum. Tank didn't verbally respond.
In there, man, I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory over a spectacular fighter. I told y'all from the beginning, man, that I got the skills to pay the bills. I've been telling y'all that. And I'm just glad I got to show it, honestly. I'm glad I got to show it. I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate true boxing media. Some guys that didn't count me out. So that's just how I feel, man. I think I won. And, I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to dance again.
Midway through this fight, it was not ruled a knockdown. What happened?
I just got my hair done 2 days ago and she put grease in my shit. So the shit was like, like when you sweating and things like that and the grease come in my face, it burnt my eyes type shit. Damn, why y'all booing like I'm saying bullshit? Like this is real facts. Come on, man. Look at my hair. I just got my shit done. But it's all cool, man. You know how I get. They love you and then they hate you. Turn around there and love you again. You know what I mean?
He didn't drop a clever retort. His face transformed instantly into a mask of pure rage. He threw the microphone onto the floor, leaped over the podium, and made a direct, explosive sprint toward Crawford. Crawford instinctively stood up, tossing his own chair backward, raising his guard as Tank threw a flying right hook aimed straight at Crawford's jaw. The chaos that followed was instant and horrifying. Security detail, trainers, and media members dove in simultaneously to separate the two men. Microphones were shattered, banners were ripped off the walls, and the main stage collapsed under the weight of 15 full-grown men wrestling on the floor. Tank was screaming profanities, fighting through 3 security guards to get another shot at Crawford, while Crawford maintained his balance, shouting back and waving Tank on like a man who was ready to throw down right there in front of the press cameras. It took nearly 10 minutes for event staff and local law enforcement to clear the stage and push Tank back toward his green room. But the damage was already done. The physical confrontation wasn't just a brief push and shove match, it was a full-blown physical altercation that shattered the boundary between sport and street beef. And as the dust settled in that press hall, every single person in the boxing world realized that the fight between Gervonta Davis and Terence Crawford was no longer just a hypothetical fantasy match, it had turned into a deeply personal war that demanded resolution in the ring. To fully grasp why this press conference brawl erupted with such unhinged violence, you have to peel back the financial and political layers currently reshaping the sport of boxing. This isn't just about 2 guys disliking each other's personalities. This is a clash between 2 fundamentally different eras, business models, and philosophical approaches to combat sports leadership. For the last decade, Gervonta "Tank" Davis has been operated under a specific model originally designed by Floyd Mayweather and Al Haymon's Premier Boxing Champions, PBC. That model is built on domestic pay-per-view dominance, extreme brand loyalty, and total control over fight negotiations. Tank was taught that he is the A-side, period. He builds his fan base organically through urban culture, hip-hop backing, and sold-out arenas in major American markets like Atlanta, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Las Vegas. In Tank's worldview, if you want to fight him, you step into his world, accept his terms, fight at his weight, and recognize his star power. Then came the arrival of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, led by His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. Turki Al-Sheikh revolutionized the boxing landscape practically overnight by throwing hundreds of millions of dollars into making the fights that fans thought were impossible due to promoter politics. He united undisputed divisions, brought heavyweights together on massive Saudi cards, and rewrote the financial scale for elite fighters. Terence Crawford became one of the key figures in Turki's vision. Crawford, who spent years struggling to get the big-money mega-fights under traditional promoters, suddenly found himself backed by infinite capital, positioning him for massive paydays, including a proposed super fight moving up to face Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds. This created a massive ideological divide between Tank Davis and Terence Crawford. Tank openly rejected the Saudi model. In multiple interviews and viral social media posts, Davis publicly trashed Turki Al-Sheikh, claiming that he couldn't be bought with Saudi money and accusing fighters like Crawford of selling their independence. Tank felt that Turki was trying to control American fighters and push them around using deep pockets. When Turki publicly expressed interest in making a fight between Tank Davis and Terence Crawford at a catchweight, Tank famously responded with extreme hostility, telling Turki to send him 2 Ferraris to his house just to start negotiations. Crawford, meanwhile, viewed Tank's stance as short-sighted, arrogant, and foolish. Crawford saw Turki Al-Sheikh as the savior of boxing, a man finally removing the promoter barriers that kept champions apart for years. Crawford publicly called Tank out for being ungrateful and scared to step out of his comfort zone. He pointed out that Tank was earning significantly less money fighting guys like Frank Martin, Hector Luis Garcia, or Lamont Roach Jr. compared to what he could make in a Saudi-backed super fight. This financial debate quickly deteriorated into a battle of pure egos. For Tank, money isn't just currency, it's proof of status. To have Crawford and the boxing media suggest that Crawford was making multiples more per fight hit Tank in his most sensitive spot. Tank prides himself on being the ultimate commercial draw in North America, the guy who sells out the Barclays Center, the Capital One Arena.
I could have stopped him. It's me. Definitely my fault. It's all right. You know what I mean? You live and you learn. I definitely could have. That was on me too. That was on me for sure. Because I ain't pick it up when I supposed to pick it up. And I could have definitely did more. Just a lot going on. But again, it was myself, you know. But you gotta go to the gym and, you know, get back to the drawing board and, you know, train a little harder.
This new guy, he's 140 pounds. He's not bad.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Davis. That's him right there, isn't it?
Ooh. No, I thought he was.
Ooh, there you go right here.
Oh, yeah.
It's a young guy.
Nice combination.
He's quick.
Good. Yeah. Ooh.
It's a harder puncher.
And
now I got the chance to be around Floyd Mayweather. Like, he be calling me now, he be texting me now. The whole last camp, I was in Floyd's gym. He closing down the gym for me. I'm working pads with him. He working pads with me and my brother Kelvin. Me and Kelvin sparring in front of Floyd. Like, he coaching us. Like, now it's like, damn, Shakur, Terence, and Floyd now. So, man, I honestly think that's God. Like, if you really look at it, what professional fighters out here just have a strong circle as strong as like ours. Like, you got the best prospect. Then you got Shakur. Then you got Terence Crawford. And then outside of our circle, we got Floyd Mayweather also tapping in with us. You know what I mean? Like, our circle is really crazy. It's really crazy, and it shows to where when we fight, it's always our opponents. It's never a close fight, even with Terence. It's never a close.
And the MGM grand without needing foreign investors. When Crawford belittled Tank's revenue and called his opposition cherry-picked, it wasn't just fight hype, it was a direct assault on Tank's pride. Furthermore, you have the historical baggage between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford added to the pot. Floyd Mayweather, who mentored Tank for years under Mayweather Promotions, always had a complicated dynamic with Crawford. Mayweather frequently claimed that Tank was a bigger draw than Crawford, while Crawford argued that Mayweather was intentionally keeping Tank away from elite competition to protect his zero. Even after Tank split from Mayweather Promotions to run GTD Promotions independently, the shadow of that Mayweather-era protectionism hung over Davis's reputation. When Tank took the stage at that fateful press conference, all of those underlying frustrations boiled over simultaneously. He wasn't just looking at Terence Crawford, the fighter, he was looking at the embodiment of everything that was threatening his narrative. Crawford represented the pound-for-pound elite who looked down on Tank's resume. He represented the Saudi money wave that Tank refused to bow to. And most importantly, Crawford represented a man who refused to treat Tank with the fear or reverence that other fighters showed him. On Crawford's end, the motivation was equally cold. Terence Crawford spent the majority of his career being underpromoted and underrated despite unified titles at 140 and 147 pounds. It wasn't until he dismantled Errol Spence Jr. in a masterclass performance that the broader boxing world finally conceded he was the pound-for-pound king. To have a smaller fighter from Baltimore, a guy who had never held a legitimate undisputed title at a single weight class, talk down to him and question his street legacy was an insult Crawford could not let pass. Crawford's composure during the press conference was meticulously designed to poke at Tank's insecurities. Notice how Crawford didn't raise his voice initially. He sat back, relaxed, and spoke with the condescending calm of an older brother dealing with a hot-headed kid. Calling Tank boy and telling him he can't even tie my shoestrings were calculated strikes meant to unbalance Tank emotionally. And it worked flawlessly. Tank lost his composure, abandoned all professional boundaries, and attacked. In the immediate aftermath of the brawl, social media split down the middle. Tank's core fanbase praised him for keeping it real, arguing that Davis proved he isn't playing games and will fight anywhere, anytime, without waiting for ring contracts. Crawford's supporters, meanwhile, mocked Tank, calling the physical attack a desperate move from a fighter who realized he couldn't beat Crawford in a battle of intellect or accomplishments. Promoters were left picking up the pieces. The Nevada State Athletic Commission issued an immediate freeze on credentialing for both entourages pending an official review of the footage. Security protocols for all future media events involving either fighter were immediately tripled. But despite the regulatory panic, every promoter in the sport knew one thing for certain: the heat generated by that brawl turned a cold contract negotiation into the most anticipated grudge match in modern combat sports history. Now that the street beef and press conference madness have pushed this feud to an absolute fever pitch, we have to talk about the brutal reality of what actually happens if Gervonta Davis and Terence Crawford ever step inside a sanctioned ring together. Because stripped of the security guards, microphone screaming, and social media trash talk, this matchup presents one of the most fascinating, complex, and potentially dangerous tactical chess matches in modern boxing history. Let's address the elephant in the room first, the weight classes. Gervonta Davis is a natural super featherweight and lightweight. He stands at 5 feet 5 inches with a 67.5-inch reach. While Tank briefly stepped up to 140 pounds to fight Mario Barrios, knocking him out in dramatic fashion, he has spent the overwhelming majority of his career dominating at 135 pounds. He carries absurd, nuclear knockout power in both hands, but he is doing it against men who walk into the ring between 140 and 148 pounds fight night. Terence Crawford, on the other hand, is a physical specimen who started his career at 135 pounds before moving up to capture undisputed titles at 140 and 147, and eventually climbing to 154 pounds to capture a belt against Israel Madrimov. Crawford stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, but his most terrifying physical asset is his 74-inch reach. That gives Crawford a massive 6.5-inch reach advantage over Tank Davis. On fight night at junior middleweight or welterweight, Crawford walks into the ring rehydrated at a lean, powerful 160+ pounds. If this fight were to happen, at what weight could it realistically take place?
Do that. A lot of people don't know that what Floyd do. He said.
So you feel like it was a sub, like he was subbing you, like
he was going at me. He was going at me, and I knew for sure he was going at me. That's why I went at him. It's no reason for me to go at Floyd.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Cause I feel like y'all got, I would say love and hate, but it's been like the last interview you showed them love. This week it was whatever. But is that sometimes like, you know, is it just like big bro, little bro seeing things different, or what is it to you?
No, Floyd don't never. He felt as though I'm at that point where as though I passed him. And I'm doing it at a young age. Wait, like when Floyd was 29, you'll see, bro.
Yeah.
That deal that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, that's a part of the
deal. He don't know about that yet. But that's bigger than his deal.
Damn. Wow.
And I'm just releasing it.
Exclusive. That's exclusive. Bigger than Floyd deal?
Yeah.
Tank no cap, nigga. That's a lot of bread.
You'll see.
It's not good it's good for them to do it and become their own boss. And then if another guy does it, it's not good for the sport. He's disloyal. And what's wrong with Tank saying he want to be his own boss? And honestly, I've been there. The relationship between them two is very toxic. It's a toxic relationship. It's up and down and up and down. And I'm not going to elaborate to everything that I know, but it's a very toxic relationship. And that's why when I tweet stuff, I don't tweet often, but when I tweet, I may fire off 50 tweets in the day. And that's why when I tweeted certain things about the relationship, Tank retweeted it because he knows. Like, I'm not just going to say what it is. It's a very toxic relationship. It's back and forth. And I think it will serve him best to go. And
there was some kind of crazy trash talk with Gervonta and Terence Crawford recently. And one of the things that I've always kind of noticed is most of the time, one of the things that's kind of off limits is families. Like you usually don't, you know.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. And so I wanted to kind of understand what your thoughts was about like some of those comments that was made. I think it was about Terence's wife. What, like in your mind, where, because obviously, like, you know, you've been in this sport.
I think Terence Crawford right now in the sport of boxing is the pound for pound best fighter in the sport of boxing right now. It's good to see him in the position that he's in. I think he has a beautiful family. I think he has a beautiful wife, a beautiful queen, a black queen. And there's nothing better than a black woman in this world. That's just my opinion. We all entitled to our
Tank has made it abundantly clear that he will never go past 145 or 147 pounds for any man, while Crawford has already adapted his body to fight at 154 and potentially 168 against Canelo Alvarez. A catch weight at 147 pounds would force Crawford to drain his frame back down, while forcing Tank to carry extra weight that could compromise his speed and stamina. Weight differences aside, let me break down the stylistic matchup, because this is where boxing purists lose their minds. Gervonta Davis is often categorized by casual fans as just a knockout artist or a puncher. That is a massive mistake. Tank is a master of distance traps and counterpunching timing. Trained by Calvin Ford, Tank uses a high guard, subtle upper body movement, and exceptional ring vision. He deliberately drops rounds early in fights, gathering intelligence on his opponent's rhythm, jab cadence, and defensive flaws. He will happily let you hit his guard for 4 rounds while he downloads your pattern. Then, once he calculates the timing, he unleashes lethal counterpunches, like the devastating left uppercut that put Leo Santa Cruz to sleep, or the body shot that crippled Ryan Garcia. Tank's greatest weapon is his ability to compress distance instantaneously. He closes a 2-foot gap in a fraction of a second, shifting his feet to create diagonal angles where he can throw maximum power shots while his opponent is off balance. However, Terence Crawford is the absolute worst stylistic matchup for a fighter who relies on distance compression and timing traps. Crawford is arguably the greatest switch hitter in boxing history. He can start a fight orthodox, analyze your rhythm, and then seamlessly switch to southpaw without losing an ounce of power, balance, or footwork fluidness. Against southpaws, which Tank is, Crawford is a nightmare. He uses his long left hand to control the opponent's lead hand, smothering their jab before it can even leave the shoulder. Unlike other fighters who get flustered by Tank's power, Crawford thrives in violent exchanges. When Crawford gets hit hard, he doesn't retreat or panic, his eyes light up, his killer instinct turns on, and he immediately responds with 3 to 4 punch combinations before his opponent can reset their stance. Look at what he did to Errol Spence Jr., a huge, powerful welterweight. Crawford didn't just outpoint Spence, he systematically disassembled him using jab timing, check hooks, and ruthless counter-punching that left Spence dropped multiple times before the referee was forced to stop it. If Tank Davis attempts to gather data early against Crawford the way he does against Lamont Roach or Frank Martin, Crawford will make him pay a catastrophic price. Crawford's jab isn't just a point scorer, it's a heavy, damaging power punch that breaks noses and sets up execution-style combinations. If Tank sits back for 3 rounds to download data, Crawford could easily build an insurmountable lead while physically beating down Tank's body with straight lefts and lead hooks. To win, Tank would have to play a high-risk game of complete violence. He cannot afford to sit on the outside and let Crawford utilize his 6.5-inch reach advantage. Tank would have to walk through Crawford's jab, step inside his range, and force Crawford into a phone booth brawl where Tank's lower center of gravity and explosive short-range uppercuts could find Crawford's chin. We saw Kavaliauskas buzz Crawford momentarily in 2019, proving that Crawford can be touched if a fighter commits to stepping into the pocket with conviction. But here is the catch, entering the pocket against Terence Crawford is like stepping into a meat grinder. Crawford is one of the most ruthless short-range counterpunchers in the sport. If Tank gets aggressive, he opens himself up to Crawford's signature right check hook, the exact punch that ruined Spence's night. This is why the press conference brawl was so telling. It proved that Tank is emotionally invested in this feud to a point where his tactical discipline could break. If Crawford can provoke Tank into fighting with anger inside the ring, Tank becomes predictable. And against a cold-blooded assassin like Terence Crawford, being emotionally compromised inside those 4 ropes is a guaranteed recipe for a knockout loss. So after all the press conference chaos, the security scrambles, the social media warfare, and the endless debates among boxing experts, where do we actually go from here? Is this press conference brawl the catalyst that finally forces promoters to lock both men in a contract, or did Gervonta Davis just destroy any realistic chance of this fight ever happening in a regulated ring? Let's look at the harsh, unfiltered realities of the boxing business right now. First, there is the issue of regulatory consequences.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we got to fight, and I'm going to win the fight. It's simple as that.
Can I ask you about if there's any rematch clause with this fight with Canelo?
No, it's not.
Is that something you push for?
No, I didn't.
And there's any weight restrictions to the fight at all?
No, it's not.
A lot of fighters would like to put on a weight restriction to this type of fight. Why didn't you want to do that?
Because I want him at his best. I don't want no excuses. I don't want no, reasons why, he didn't feel good or anything. I want him at his best.
Turkey, you need to put a small ring, the smaller ring in the...
Hey, Matt. Yeah. The only running that I'm going to be doing is running upside his head, and I can assure you that.
Facts. And he got a big head too.
I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not.
Kovalev was older. And he does. Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you name is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect to none of those fighters. The skill level is not there.
So how do you see a fight with Canelo?
It's a tough fight. Canelo is a great fighter. Like, I always had respect for Canelo, but I just believe in my skills. The fact that people doubt me, it just fueled me even more. Try to get the fight even more. And I'm watching them, I'm like, man, I can beat this dude. I've been fighting people bigger than me all my life, and I always came out on top. You gonna get hit. It's a fight. He gonna get hit too.
Athletic commissions, especially the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the New York State Athletic Commission, do not take physical assaults at non-sanctioned events lightly. Tank Davis threw a physical strike at another licensed professional fighter outside the ring. Depending on how the commissions choose to rule on the incident, Tank could face steep fines, temporary license suspensions, or mandatory anger management protocols before he is cleared to step into a ring for his next scheduled title defense. However, we all know how boxing operates when hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line. History has proven time and time again that bad blood sells better than good sportsmanship. Think back to Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield, Floyd Mayweather, and Victor Ortiz, or the infamous press conference brawl between Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis in 2002 where Tyson bit Lewis's leg. That chaotic brawl didn't cancel the fight, it turned it into the highest-grossing pay-per-view event of its era. The press conference incident between Tank and Crawford did one thing above all else: it removed any doubt about whether the public wants to see this fight. Before the brawl, casual fans viewed Tank versus Crawford as an unrealistic weight class fantasy that purists debated online. After the brawl, it became a mainstream sports narrative featured on ESPN, Sky Sports, and across social media platforms, reaching tens of millions of views. If Turki Alalshik and Riyadh Season step in with a mega offer that satisfies both Tank's demand for domestic A-side control and Crawford's price tag, this fight could realistically be put together at a 147-pound catchweight. It would be billed as the ultimate pound-for-pound showdown of this generation, the explosive power and culture-defining stardom of Gervonta Tank Davis against the flawless execution, tactical genius, and multi-division dominance of Terence Bud Crawford. What does legacy look like for both men if this fight actually happens? For Gervonta Davis, a win over Terence Crawford would instantly elevate him from a superstar lightweight champion to an absolute legend of American boxing history. It would silence every critic who claimed he was protected by Mayweather, every analyst who criticized his resume, and every fan who doubted his ability to stand toe-to-toe with elite pound-for-pound fighters. Knocking out Crawford would put Tank in the conversation alongside fighters like Manny Pacquiao and Roberto Duran, smaller men who moved up in weight to destroy bigger, feared champions through sheer power and ferocious skill. For Terence Crawford, defeating Tank Davis would be the ultimate victory lap on an already Hall of Fame career. Crawford has already unified 2 weight classes and holds wins over elite opposition. Adding Tank Davis's undefeated record to his mantle would be the final, undisputed proof that Crawford is the undisputed king of his generation, a fighter who conquered every challenge, destroyed every rival, and left zero doubt about his place in boxing history. And if the fight never happens? If contract disputes, weight boundaries, or promoter politics keep them apart, this press conference brawl will stand as one of the ultimate what ifs in combat sports history. It will join the ranks of Mayweather versus Pacquiao in their prime or Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis, a reminder of an era where 2 of the best fighters on the planet hated each other to their core, but the business of boxing prevented us from seeing the ultimate resolution inside the squared circle. At the end of the day, boxing isn't just about belts, sanctioning bodies, or corporate press releases. It's about fighting spirit. It's about 2 undefeated champions who came from nothing, fought their way to the absolute peak of the world, and refused to let another man tell them they weren't the greatest. What we saw at that press conference wasn't just a marketing stunt or a quick lose-your-cool moment, it was the raw, dangerous truth of what happens when 2 unstoppable forces collide. Now, I want to hear from you. Look at the footage, look at the styles, look at the history. If Gervonta Davis and Terence Crawford actually step into the ring at a 147-pound catchweight, who is walking out with their undefeated record intact? Does Tank land the explosive counter shot that shocks the world, or does Crawford put on a masterclass and show Tank why there are levels to this game? Drop your predictions in the comments section below right now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and smash that like button if you want more unfiltered, high-octane boxing breakdowns just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.